Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is leading aircraftswoman Monica Verman. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We also acknowledge the members of the RSL and Services Club Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching this ceremony broadcast across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors as well as students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, Bowral Public School and Yamba Public School. From Tasmania, Flinders Island District High School, and from Western Australia, Harrisdale Senior High School. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you, students. You may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Lieutenant Abel Richmond Sheath. Abel Sheath was born on the 31st of March 1890 to Harris and Harriet Sheath of Sydney. He was educated at the Leichhardt Superior Public School and was well known in local cricket and football competitions. Abel Sheath was an active member of the Loyal Orange Lodge and became the Leichhardt Lodge's secretary. He worked as an accountant for John McLean, who was also based in Leichhardt. Not long after he enlisted in 1915, his name was included on an honor roll of service soldiers erected at the Methodist Mission Hall in Leichhardt. Even as a young boy, Abel Sheath took a keen interest in the cadets and other military matters. He went on to hold the rank of Brigade Sergeant Major in the junior cadets and a commission in the senior cadets. Despite this, Sheath enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in July 1915 as a private soldier. He undertook training to qualify for a commission after his enlistment, and by early 1916 was given the rank of second lieutenant. He left Australia in charge of the 11th Reinforcements to the 18th Battalion in April 1916. Second Lieutenant Abel Sheath spent several months as an instructor at the 5th Training Battalion based in Rollstone in England and joined the 18th Battalion in France in December 1916. Soon afterward, he was promoted to lieutenant. He remained with his battalion for the rest of his service, apart from a short period of illness in May 1917. In September 1917, during preparations for the Battle of Menin Road, Lieutenant Sheath was working overnight to create a brigade supply dump. While working, he was wounded by a shell fragment, but refused to leave the line to make sure he could participate in the attack, which went ahead on the 20th of September. During that attack, Sheath's company commander, and in fact every other officer in the company to his left, became casualties. Sheath took command of the two companies and rushed the enemy's position, achieving all objectives. He was awarded the Military Cross, his citations noting that Sheath repeatedly showed courage, coolness, and resource of a high order. During the enemy's counterattacks and heavy shelling, he again inspired all by his cool bearing and utter disregard of danger. Lieutenant Sheath was a popular member of the battalion and used to sing at concerts and other occasions in a fine baritone voice. He was an enthusiastic participant in battalion sports and, as an officer, was described as level-headed, sound, and well-trained, a man possessed of an excellent word of command and a bearing which commanded attention. On the 8th of August 1918, the 18th Battalion took part in the Battle of Amiens, the opening attack of the Great British Offensive of that year, and a startling success. Lieutenant Sheath led his men to their final objective, but was slightly wounded as they arrived. He seems to have gone back towards the original line at some point, and some reports indicate that he was tending to some wounded men of the 20th Battalion when he was shot by a machine gun bullet. What is certain is that his body was found by members of the 18th Battalion later that day, and he was buried in a small cemetery northeast of Marcel Cave on the Somme. A report on Abel Sheath in the 18th Battalion's war diary says, As a man, it is difficult to say enough in appreciation of his character. He was at all times the ideal of a courteous and cultured gentleman, full of kindly humor and good fellowship. Few of any of our officers have been so highly respected among all ranks. After the war, Abel Sheath's body was reinterred in the Villa Brotana Military Cemetery, where he lies today under the words, "In memory of dearly loved son of Mrs. H.A. Sheath of Haberfield." He was 28 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. In the portrait displayed today beside the pool of reflection, Abel Sheath is seated on the left-hand side. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at Australian War Memorial. We now remember Lieutenant Abel Richmond Sheath, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrubber Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen and students, that concludes the last post ceremony. We'd like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.